Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm gonna talk about the series premiere of Devil May Cry. Great series premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, and I talked about this a little bit during my trailer discussion, it's still kind of that weird thing of obviously all the Devil May Cries, for the most part, like 90% of them, 95 if anything else, take place in like the real world, the human world. So, but it's still just weird making it a big part. Not as a bad thing, it's just kind of almost jarring and weird. Because, obviously the settings have always, you take like a 3 and a 5, which take place in the human realm, and they're taking place in big cities. But like, the only Devil May Cry that's really leaned into like connecting it really with the human world, and Dante really interacting with the human world, really was like DMC Devil May Cry, the reboot made by Ninja Theory. Like, that's the only one that really kind of really utilizes the human world. I mean, because like the hell and the demon world and the human world bleed over a lot more in that particular continuity, but even more so by the end of that. We'll get into that later. But either way, it's just such a jarring thing. And then to have the rabbit show up, and like he's part of I talked about it in the trailer, he's using human weapons and stuff, which I thought was weird because you see him with like a grenade launcher or whatever later. But either way, like he hired these people to break into this place. Apparently, I was like, oh, would never have guessed he was breaking into the Vatican's like vault and stuff. I was like, geez, that's crazy. And the moment the sword came into the picture, I was like, isn't that? And he says it, the Force Edge. I was like, oh my God. Because I did not remember its name, but I was like, isn't that Dante's sword from the first game? I was like, I want to say that's the last time it popped up, and someone can correct me because my DMC knowledge could be like very hazy at best in some cases. Well, I remember a lot, but I feel like some of the details might be hazy. But I want to say, didn't the last time the Force Edge pop up continuity wise was DMC 3? Well, I mean, even though DMC 3 is the prequel, didn't, at least in the release order of the games, like wasn't that the last time it popped up? Because I know continuity wise, it'd be Devil May Cry 1 would be the last time it popped up. I guess you can make the argument because Sparta pops up in 4 that's like the sword Sparta pops up. It's like, well, technically it made an appearance there. I don't remember if he gets Sparta back in 5 or not. It's been a hot minute, but either way, I'm going on this tangent. But he's getting the Force Edge, which I'm like, oh, it's interesting that it's locked up in the Vatican, which even he's bringing up how ironic it is that hell, like the most powerful weapon in hell, is literally in one of the most like holy places, which is ironic. And it's interesting because he talks about like how he was kind of bringing up like the human condition, about like how humans, like even with their own like depravities and stuff like that, kind of, he's like, you look down upon my world like we're lesser than you, like, oh, we're like the big bads, we're like the boogeymen that you kind of like hold on to as like this scary thing that you're afraid of. It's like, yeah, you do atrocities or terrible things, you go to my world, but like that's my world, that's what hell is. And so ends up slaughtering the entire team. The last guy got it pretty brutally. It's just like, yeah, the damn sword stabbed through his mouth. I don't know why. Some elements to this give me Spawn vibes. If you ever remember, like, I haven't seen it in so long, but like the HBO Spawn series, animated series, it kind of reminds me of that with just some of its brutality and stuff like. But I mean, once again, it's also Devil May Cry. It's just like you don't often see like humans getting like obliterated by demons to that degree like that. So that's why Spawn is what immediately came to mind. Then we cut to also really quickly, before I was about to move away, I love that the rabbit is voiced by Hoon Lee. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Hoon Lee, I best know from like Banshee. I know he was in Iron Fist a little bit, but I want to say the most recent thing I'd seen him on was Warrior. I think that's the most recent thing I'd seen him in. He's a great actor, but I was like, oh, that's so dope. But either way, putting that aside, Dante rescuing that mom, I thought that was kind of trippy and scary, where it's just like, yeah, like the baby disappeared and then it got replaced, where I'm like, so where's the real baby at then? I was like, oh, that woman's real baby is gone. Most likely she's dead now, because she left with that shapeshifter, and it most likely killed her eventually. But that's really depressing and sad to know about that. But Dante came in for the rescue. Which my immediate thing was, once again, it's still going to take a little getting used to hearing Johnny Young Bosch's voice come out of any version of Dante, so that's going to be weird. But what I thought was interesting too is like the pistols. Immediately, I was like, is that Ebony and Ivory? I was like, they look different. That doesn't look like it's Ebony and Ivory. And then later on, when he's fighting a shapeshifter again, the guns are broken because he like does damage to him. And I was like, oh, so those weren't. I mean, not unless he gets them repaired. But I'm like, that's not Ebony and Ivory. Like once again, because like the whole point is they're different color. Like yeah, those look like regular handguns. So I was like, oh, so he doesn't have Ebony and Ivory yet. Interesting. Because I've never read the novel, but I remember looking into it years and years ago. I want to say one of the novels covers how he got Ebony and Ivory, if I remember correctly. I know one of them might have been the same novel. I know one includes something. It's some Virgil stuff that I don't remember the context of it. But yeah, like I think I remember like a specific story apparently covering how he got Ebony and Ivory. So I'm like, oh, that's going to be interesting if that is the case. Because I couldn't even remember. I was like, did he have a rebellion on him when he saved that mom and child? What was protecting him from the demon? Like I don't remember. Obviously had to get in that jackpot line, which I'm like, yeah, I love it. But yeah, just going full pistol mode in that regard. That's why I was like, that's why I couldn't remember if he had rebellion or not, because he didn't have it with him later. So I'm like, well, it's like you're going like concealing two pistols is a lot easier than concealing a sword that you have to hold on your back. So that might be why you're just not out and about with it. I don't know. But yeah, he's like, whoa. He's like, normally I have this one-liner. He's like, wait, pretend like I shot this guy, bang, and then he hit her with a one-liner. I'm like, you're such a tryhard, Dante. I love it, you goofball. But either way, she's like, oh, you did come to save us. He's like, yeah, I got hired to basically by a client. And she's like, client? And it's like, who are you? Tried to kill the baby and the mom ran off. And he's like, well, you kind of screwed the pooch on that, Dante. Then we start getting into like, because this was the thing I wasn't sure about based on that woman's reaction. She's almost like, oh my God, demons are real. And even the guys that went to the Vatican were like looking at Rabbit being like, yo, what are you? I was like, oh, do they not know what demons are? It seems like certain people in this world know, because some people know that demons exist, other people don't. It hasn't become like the widespread thing. Kind of going back to like the DMC Devil May Cry. In that world, it's like if you're in the know, you know demons exist. But if you're not, like by the end of that game, the demon world has basically bled over into the human world. So like demons are rampant now. So now the general world's going to know about demons. I think the same thing kind of pretty much happens in the later parts of the continuity of the DMC base game. So I'm like, so it's interesting, but it's just interesting where it's like, yeah, the general public doesn't know, but we do have government officials and government organizations that tackle it. Even certain, middlemen who set up jobs and stuff, like the guy we got introduced to this episode, Enzo. He kind of ends up, it seems like he's also Dante's middleman, where it's like he's the one that sets up some of Dante's jobs, maybe all of them, who knows. But yeah, like you have this like scientist talking about demons, and people are in the like, because it's like a meeting from like White House officials and stuff like that, and in the military, it's like the vice president was there, and the moment the vice president spoke, I was like, oh man, that's weird. Sounds a little Kevin Conroy-ish. And then lo and behold, it actually was Kevin Conroy. I was like, whoa, that's insane. And obviously, because I was like, I know he passed a couple years ago, but I was like, wow. Because I know this series has been in development for a long time. So that's what kind of caught me off guard. I was like, wow, he must have recorded it. Because it even says it, obviously, in loving memory to him. So I was like, wow, was it really 2022 when he passed? And I don't know why. It felt like it was a little more recent. Like maybe 2023, but I think it was like near the end of 2022 when he passed. But it's still like, I was just like, wow. I mean, it's nice to hear him. Because a lot of people thought the last thing you'd hear him that he had done would have been like the Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League game. That's kind of like the one of like the last publicized things. I don't know if that's been publicized that he was in this. I mean, I haven't kept up with the show until like the trailer came out, and I was like, oh right, that's coming out pretty soon, like the teaser and stuff like that. And then the official trailer. So maybe that was a known thing. That was a surprise, man. God, it just. Once again, I'm about to go on my soapbox. Not soapbox, but it's just like, man, miss Kevin Conroy, dude. It's just a reminder that we lost one of the legends, dude. That's all it is. It's just kind of like, it's neat to hear his voice. It's great to hear his voice, but it just makes it a reminder of, man, you know. So that was just something I was just like gobsmacked by. I was like, Jesus, that's crazy. Um, Either way, important tangent, but tangent nonetheless. The vice president himself is like, oh, there's an organization that like apparently he helps funds. I forgot what it was called. Like it was called something. They have a shorter name for it, but basically it's an organization that's used to investigate demons. It seems like he's coming at it from like a religious standpoint because he's talking about like a holy war and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, are you? So you've always probably believed in hell and stuff like that. So you believe that demons exist and stuff. So now it's just like, oh, you're just taking the money and putting it behind something. So because it's interesting hearing all this stuff like hell and stuff talked about from like not necessarily like a fantastical standpoint, even though it is. Just hearing it talked about from a science standpoint feels so weird. About like, oh yeah, the reason why demons can't come into this world is because there's a like kind of like this interference that's happening between the worlds, and some of the smaller, lesser demons can pop through, but the larger ones can't. So that benefits us. But just hearing demons being talked about from a scientific perspective is so wild and crazy to hear. But yeah, like they saw the footage from the people that were killed by Rabbit, and now they're like, okay, and he's talking about, oh, you want to find me? Find a hunter first. And so they're trying to figure out like, well, who is this hunter that he's talking about? Ultimately, they end up tracking down. It's like, right, let's go find every demon hunter that exists or that they're aware of. Which one of them I started marking out because I was like, that looks like that's supposed to be. I had to look up the character's name because I was like, it's been so long. I was like, I don't remember if it was like Lucille, but I think it's Lucia. I was like, holy shit. She didn't have any speaking lines, but I was like, is that, wow. I mean, obviously it's like, someone has to correct me because I still don't know where DMC2 stands in the timeline, but I'm like, I think it's still the furthest in the timeline. I think the timeline order is still 3, 1, 4, 5, 2. I think. I'm pretty sure 5 still takes place before 2. Whatever the case may be. I was like, wow. I wasn't expecting it because I actually don't know if she's. I want to say maybe there was a novel or some. I feel like there was some extra storyline with her, maybe in a novel or something. But I was like, I don't know if she's ever popped. I'm pretty sure she's never popped up outside of DMC2. I don't think there's ever been any winks or nods or references. Maybe there were, and I'm just not remembering. But I was like, I mean, that could have been someone else. But I'm like, the moment I saw her, like the red hair and the way it's on, like the way it's like styled, I'm like, that looks like that's her. I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. I don't think. Also, it's so effed up to see them just like torturing and beating these people up. Like even Enzo, they were threatening to shock him, and he was like, "Well, we can make negotiations, compensation." He's like, "Okay, Jesus, you guys need to work on your negotiation skills." And he's the one that kind of breaks down some of the lore, obviously, like the Sparta of it all. Because I thought, like the moment they brought up the Force Edge, I was like, "Isn't that how it works?" It's like you need the Force Edge and Dante and Virgil's ambulance to make the Sparta sword. And I was like, yeah, it is. So I was like, oh, that's so fascinating. I was like, I'm glad I remembered that because I was beating myself over the head. I'm like, isn't that how that works? And I literally all I had to do was wait for the episode to be like, yes, that's exactly how it works. So that was interesting. And I love that the guy, like Enzo, was just like, he's someone that knows about the demon world. He's like, yeah, it was a 6-foot rabbit. And you didn't think that was weird. He's like, whatever. I got paid to do a certain thing. And he also wanted a very specific person hired, and that being Dante. So they end up looking up Dante, and there's some information about him. I love there was like a line in some of that. Like if you pause and read some of it, one of them was like, oh, like that he loves video games. In fact, he treats some of his missions like they're video games. I'm like, oh, that's cheeky. Obviously, he's abandoned 5 missions because he got bored. But they talk about his skills and stuff like that, what he's going up against. One of the demons they apparently like labeled him being like, oh, he killed was called Abyss. I was like, that's not. It was a different demon on screen, but I was like, wasn't that the name of the thing he kills at the end of 2? Wasn't that thing's name Abyss? I could have sworn it was, but I don't remember. I really, really don't remember. But I was like, man, just like that little profile they got on Dante, they don't know anything. It's like, oh, first name Dante, last name, who knows? And they kind of break down the whole thing about his skills and stuff and how he's good with weapons and stuff like that, specialized weapons and stuff. So, am I the only one that thought it was suspicious of like, oh, Rabbit ended up killing everyone else that the vice president, the kind of SWAT team or whatever that he sent after Rabbit ended up killing all of them except one, and that guy was just in a hospital. We saw him wake up, and then immediately is like, "Oh yeah, I'm here, sir. I had to pass something on to you," and basically told him about like, "Oh, the Rabbit has one amulet," which I'm like, how the hell did he manage to do that? I was like, well, I guess you're in hell and you managed that, because I'm like, I don't fully know, like, because this feels like it's unclear. Like, once again, the continuity I'm so unclear about, because I'm like, for Virgil to show up looking the way he does is like, okay, and so Dante's met his brother as an adult, because he's not under the impression that his brother died as a kid, and it's like, no, because it's like, no, he knows his brother's alive, so this has to be like, once again, and also Lady's involved in this, but him and Lady don't know each other, so this is definitely pre-3, or is it post-3 and just him and Lady just aren't, once again, we'll have to wait for Lady to show up to see if there's any history in this continuity, but based on a trailer, it didn't seem like there was. So I was like, I was not, when the moment Virgil showed up, I was like, wait, what? I mean, I completely forgot the tag at the end of the trailer was showing Virgil, but I was like, whoa, you're popping up this early, but it's the shapeshifter. I was like, oh, interesting. But also, once again, it took on his brother's adult form. It's not like he took on his form as a child. So that's why I was like, oh, so Dante had to have run into like adult Virgil at some point in time in this continuity, right? For him to immediately be like, no, you're my brother. It can't be. You're dead. I don't know. Because the flashbacks we saw were just like right when his mom and his brother were killed. That I was like, oh, so yeah, that was when he was a kid. So why would you immediately recognize him as an adult? That's why I was like kind of lost in that moment. But either way, Dante enjoying his desserts, which once again, I'm like, I know obviously big thing for Dante is pizza. We even get it in the intro, which I also should talk about too. I love like, well, I wasn't expecting you to give us Limp Bizkit for like the intro. I don't know what I expected the intro song to be, but I also love the different swords, because you see like Nero's, is his sword Red Rose? No, it's, oh God, what is it? It's red something. And I know his pistol is Blue Rose, and I forgot what his sword is called. But you see that, you see Rebellion, you see like there's those two swords he gets from 3 where he fights like these twin demons, and one turns into a blue blade, one turns into a red blade. You also see Yamato, kind of sprinkled in there, and obviously Rebellion and stuff. So, and Force Edge. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, he's eating pizza, and that's his go-to thing. But the whole like strawberry ice cream thing, I'm like, isn't that something from the animated series from the mid-2000s? Or was that early 2000s that animated series came out from? Or I think it would be legitimately just a straight-up anime, if I remember correctly. I'm like, I think I remember him eating it a lot in that. I feel like I don't remember him eating it as much in the games. Like, I always saw him with pizza in the games and never ice cream, but maybe I'm misremembering. But I love, like, yeah, the waitress, like, left her number and a lipstick on the nap. I don't know. I don't know whether that's a thing of, like, he didn't go smiles and kept it. It's just more like he's like, wiped his mouth with him to put it down. I'm like, I'm just going to ignore that. But I love him saving them, like, just in fast motion, like that tank truck just being thrown, grabbing the guy, throwing him, grabbing the waitress, and then I was almost wondering, like, are you going to try and grab your ice cream at the same time? It's like, no, you ended up saving the day, like, you know. So got them out of there, and then he fought the shapeshifter. Once again, very Dante-esque thing of just like, oh, rather than like getting to the basement area, how about I just shoot a circle and then like fall down? But yeah, he's duking it out with the demon, and then it, you know, pins him against the wall, and he ends up like summoning kind of a little bit of his demon strength and punching it. And obviously it's talking about like, right, you don't even know who and what you are. He knows he's enhanced, but I guess he doesn't know enough about his history, because even obviously The whole like, well, your dad's a demon. He knows he's not human, but he knows like he doesn't know the full extent of like who he really is and everything. But it's like, oh, we know who you are, but you don't even know who you are. Here it is. I'm the shapeshifter. Ironically enough, I'm not the one who died identity crisis. You are. But then like also him running out of ammo was kind of a trip too, because I was like, oh yeah, I'm so not used to like, you know, obviously him or Nero running out of ammo. So it's such a weird thing for there to be an ammo element to it. But it's like, yeah, like I said, I don't think that's Ebony and Ivory. They're just regular pistols. So that's going to be interesting to see when he ultimately gets those fixed. I also love the whole him playing DDR later on, and he's sucking so much because he's missing, because he's trying to style and be so cool, but it's like, no, you look like an idiot because you're not doing well. It kind of reminds me of, I don't remember, it was the hat, wasn't it? Because one of his weapons in DMC5 is a hat, and I know he started busting down some Michael Jackson-esque moves. Like, I feel like that's one of the few times you've seen Dante, like, bust a move like that. It has to be that sequence in 5. There probably has been others, and we're just, like, in specifically dancing. Like, obviously getting crazy, acrobatic, and just going crazy with how he moves around and stuff. Like, yes, he's done that in plenty of things, but like specifically dancing, like 5 is the only thing I can think of where he really did that. But yeah, him just like sucking and his score being a D, which I don't know if that's supposed to be like also like slight wink and nod to like the stylish ranking system from the DMC games too. I don't know if that's supposed to be kind of a wink and nod to that as well. Yeah, but I brought it up earlier too. Obviously, the demon, specifically the rabbit, is after Dante's amulet. But I'm like, once again, how did you get Virgil's amulet? Not unless it's going to be a thing of the rabbit. I don't think it will be. I was like, not unless the rabbit's actually Virgil, because they did bring up something interesting where they were talking about, and I don't know if they've ever discussed this before, and I thought it was an interesting like world building thing, that apparently like the more powerful, I think it was Enzo that was saying like, yeah, the more powerful demons, because they can't make their way over here, they basically implant their subconscious, they push it into this world, into something. He's like, yeah, that's where the rabbit comes from. Like basically a demon from hell is implanting its consciousness in that rabbit. So I was like, but I mean, for you to have the amulet must mean it has to be Virgil, right? Not unless it's something else that stole it from Virgil. I don't know, man. I'm just throwing a lot out there because I just like, it's once again, it's so interesting because I'm trying to rack my brain around what I know about DMC and then like take it into this and see how all the pieces fit together, but also see where this story goes. Like I said, I don't know. It feels like it's once again just its own story, but I'm just seeing what it's deciding to pull from the canon and do with it. So it's going to be interesting because like we know the government eventually finds its way to Dante, so we see how they snatch up all those demon hunters, and they're going to probably not be too kind about Dante keeping the amulet, especially if they know that's the only thing keeping the gates of hell from being completely open. So they're probably not going to be too kind to him. It's like, oh, you need to work with us, but obviously Dante's pretty much a one-man show for the most part, so I'm very excited to see where the next episode ends up taking us, continuing us going forward. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.